Hello there guys, R.C.E Kingston here, and I'm here with the very first story time video. And story time is pretty self-explanatory. It's a series where I'm going to be telling stories about my life. And I'm going to be doing a voiceover over some video gameplay. Today I'm having Beat Saber in the background. Just a disclaimer about Beat Saber. If you suffer from epilepsy, I recommend you don't watch this, or sit it to the side and do not watch the actual video and just listen to the story. And by no means am I the best Beat Saber player out there. I just did this for fun. I thought it'd be a fun thing to do. So this story today is about how a Karen decided to destroy our fort. So a little backstory: me and my friends in the neighborhood, we had a fort in the woods, there's wetlands near our house. So we all got together, got like hammers and nails and wood, and we built a fort attached to a tree. It wasn't anything big, but we hung out there all the time. So this kid, he lived in front of the fort, and he was not one of our friends, and he always asked his mom if he could come play with us. And his mom, the Karen in the story, was always like, no, it's dangerous back there. And I don't trust those kids, you've never met them. Well, she saw how much fun we were having, and she started to get annoyed at us. So let's start from the beginning. The first time we went back there, we had to cut through one of our friend's house yards, which he lived right next to her. And so we had to cut through his yard, and she stopped us the first time we went back there and said, "What are you kids doing with all that stuff? And did you have permission from your parents?" Nothing that unusual, just that I was a concerned mom, making sure we weren't doing anything illegal, like having a fight club out in the woods. And we were just like, we're just building a fort, we have permission from our parents, we're just gonna do it right here in the edge of the woods. She was like, okay, just don't do anything stupid. And we thought nothing of it. We thought it was just a one-time thing and her making sure we weren't doing anything dumb. Well, the next time we went back there, she was like, why are y'all back? I thought you were just gonna build it and leave. And at this point, we were starting to get a little suspicious of her. So we were like, we're just kids trying to have fun. Why is that such an issue for you? Like, why is that so hard for you to understand? And she was like, well, I don't want you getting in trouble or getting hurt. And we're like, okay, we'll keep that in mind, so you don't have to worry about us. And we continued on with our day, and we started to explore farther back. And here's the layout of our neighborhood. If you go back, we live in the back of the neighborhood. So there's a road right before ours, and it goes back behind the wetlands, meaning it's not fully enclosed. So it's not like just endless wetlands. It's like a sliver in between the two roads where they can't build because it's wetlands. And so that's a little backstory about where it is. So we started to walk further back down that way, and we found a pretty usable path, and there was this dip into, whenever it rains a lot, it became kind of a river. And so we went down there, and there was this big open plot of land with like 5 trees and a star formation. And we were like, hey, we could make this into like a clubhouse of sorts with wood and stuff. Nothing serious, just a small little clubhouse that we could all hang out in. Well, she did not know about this, which we did not think she should, because she did not need to know what we were doing all the time. So we continue to do that, and she sees us bringing more and more wood back there. Like, these are small plywood that we found in dumpsters, because our neighborhood was still under construction. So whenever we get permission from the construction workers, they get stuff out of their trash cans that they weren't using anymore. And on like Saturdays and Sundays when they weren't working, we would go out there with a cart attached to our bike, one of our bikes, usually mine, and we'd drag them out, put stuff in the cart, and we'd ride our bike out there, And we'd pull the cart up over there and we'd start working, and one of us would bring like drinks and stuff and the other would bring a couple snacks, and we'd get to work. And we usually just left our stuff out there because no one really knew we were there. So this went on for 2-3 weeks with no problems. So, and we thought that that lady had just given up on us and wasn't gonna be an issue anymore. So we continue on our day, and I think, mind you, this story is from over 2 years ago, so I'm having to kind of go off of memory here. It was a Wednesday after school. No, we weren't even in school because it was on summer break. So it was Wednesday around 1 o'clock, and we were walking back there, and we see the Karen, I'm just gonna call her Karen, and we see her looking at us through her upstairs window, like watching us. And we're like, okay, that's weird, she's probably just checking what we were doing. So we go to the first floor, which is right out behind her house, and we see her in another window, looking at us again. And we're like, okay, that's kind of weird, I don't know what she's doing. We realize she's on the phone with someone, looking at us, watching us. And then she walks away and we don't see her again. 5 minutes later, a cop pulls up. So at this point we're like, okay, either something happened or she called the cops on us. And sure enough, a police officer walks out and comes to see us. Mind you, we're just sitting around out in the woods, like leaning against trees and talking, fake like fighting and stuff, or joking around, telling jokes. And this officer walks up and says, "How are you doing today?" And we're like, "We're good, how are you?" And he's like, "I'm doing good. So what are you all doing out here?" And we're just like, we're just hanging out, we're messing around with like wood and stuff that we found on dumpsters. We're just building some random stuff. And he's like, okay, because we got in a complaint about y'all doing some suspicious activity. And we're like, did they say anything? And they said no, we just like reported some kids doing some suspicious activity out in the woods. And you're like, well, there's nothing happening, we're just walking around here. We're just kind of just being kids, walking around, hanging out. Mind you, there was like 5 or 6 of us hanging out. And we were just all talking. And he was like, okay, well, I'll leave you be. Just wanted to come check and see what was happening. We were like, okay, have a good day. And that was the first major thing that that all got us kind of confused about why she was called the cops on us, because we were just standing there. Nothing happens for about 2 weeks. At this point, we have like 2 walls on that second, like on that clubhouse, and we noticed that this other kid has been watching us. And then we go and talk to him and ask, like, why has he been watching us? We like go back there and like following us around. He's like, I'm just curious about what y'all are doing. So then he kind of joins us and starts hanging out. The whole time this is happening, the Karen's kid keeps asking his mom if he can come play with us, since there's a large group of us and he sees us having fun. And his mom says, no, they're not the right type of people around. Just watch, in a couple years, they're gonna be the ones who are in jail. And because she says this out on the back porch, loud enough for us to hear her. And all of us collectively look at each other and are like, what is this woman talking about? Like, just because we're out in the woods hanging out does not mean we're going to be in jail in the next couple years. And this was another moment where we're just like, what is this woman talking about? What is happening? And why is she such a Karen? And that was the first time she said something loud enough to, like, purposely anger us. So, we continue on, and we continue building, and at this point, this was the next day, and we were just leaving after getting another wall up and hanging out for a little while. And she stops us and says, she stops us on our way walking out and says, "What were you boys doing out there? We heard a lot of banging and we wanted to make sure everything was okay." We're like, "It's none of your business. You've been nothing but a nuisance to us. So why would we tell you anything?" And she's just like, "Well, because I'm an adult and you should respect adults." And we're like, "Woman, we don't know you besides the fact that you called the cops on us and that you have been consistently giving us problems while we're just trying to enjoy our childhood. And we'll, like, all run away and get on our bikes, trying to get away from the situation. Not that we're doing anything wrong, because we just did not want to be in that sort of situation because with this deranged woman telling us that us enjoying our childhood is bad." So we continue on and we ride our bikes around the block a couple times, hoping that she will forget about us and we can go back there. We ride our bikes for about 30 minutes around the neighborhood. We come back and we go back there. We go back to the clubhouse. And all of the tools and nails we brought back there are gone, with absolutely no sign of where they went. And we all collectively look at each other and say and think, we know who took them. Karen took them. So we, all 7 of us, mind you, 7 teenagers. I think the youngest of us was 10 and the oldest of us was 15. So we all walk up there and say, we ring on the doorbell and say, "Karen, we have an issue with you." She says, "What is your issue?" "Give us all our tools back or we're gonna call the cops on you for stealing." And knowing that there's no way she can win this one, she reluctantly gives us the tools back. So this is the first moment that she directly, like, interfered with us. And we thought, after us telling her that we are not afraid to call the cops on her, that she'd leave us alone. Boy, were we wrong. Because the next day... So, okay, I skipped something. After that, we all took home one tool, so she could not directly come and get all the tools from one person. So we each took home one tool. And so we go out the next day. This is a Friday at this point. And we get on our bikes, tools in pocket, and we ride off to go find another way to get back to our clubhouse and fort. So we ride all the way around the neighborhood, down one of the other streets, the one next to us, and we find this, like, clearing. And we walk up, and it leads directly to our, like, clubhouse-esque thing. So we thought, instead of having to go by Karen's house, we would just use that from now on. So she does not know when we're back there, and she can't have a problem with what we're doing. So she does not know that we go back there for about 2 weeks, and then we make the dumb choice to go to the front fort meaning she knows that we're there. And this time we had to, like, I don't remember what we had, but we had this, like, it was a rope. It was a moderately long rope that one of our friends brought. And we were going to tie it to one of the stronger branches and use it as, like, a swing. And we were going to do that. So she sees us dragging this rope back there, and instantly starts to follow us from a distance. And then we know that she's following us because we can hear the crinking of the leaves, and we know that we're all together. So we just act like we don't notice her. So we all go up and we find an appropriate branch that is sturdy and will hold this thing. We find it, and I get on one of my friends, the tallest friend's shoulders, and I tie it up there, and then I hang, and then he lets me go and leaves me hanging on it. And I hang there for a minute to see if it will hold, and it holds perfectly. And then one of the friends acts surprised, like, Karen is right behind us, guys, with a phone, recording us. And we all turn around and book it at her. But little did she know that we stopped as soon as she turned around. And we kept, like, running in place, so it sounds like we're following her. So, after that, we don't see her again for a couple weeks. And then me and the friend that lives next to Karen goes out there with a big, like, jug of water, because we were going to work on, like, a catapult type thing. This just for fun, to, like, fling pine cones into the far woods. And she does not think to ask us what we're doing, like any civilized person would. She just assumes that we're bringing bleach into the woods and calls the cops on us again. Mind you, my mom is with us because they were gonna show her our fort and what we had done. So, my mom leaves, and Karen decides, hey, I'm gonna take this opportunity to call the cops on them for pouring bleach in the woods. So, 5 minutes later, a cop car pulls up again. And guess what they say? And they go through the same greeting thing, how's your day? And then they were like, so are you two pouring bleach out in the woods? And we're like, no, we have a jug of water here. And we've been just dropping it on pieces of wood and, like, flinging pine cones farther into the woods. And they ask us to show him just to make sure, and we set up the catapult, which is just a piece of wood with a pine cone in the back of it. And we drop it, and it goes thunk, and flings the pine cone. And he says, okay, sorry to bother you two. Have a great day. Have a good day. And we were like, you have a good day too. Sorry for being a nuisance. So, that happens, and then the next day, we come out there, all 7 of us, and guess what happens again? So at this point we have, background information. There's 2 trees on the outskirts of the woods that we had sat, like, 2x4. I think it was 4x4 sheets of plywood on. So we sat those there, and we were just sitting on them. Only one of us could sit on there to not damage the trees too bad. And one was sitting there, and another was sitting in the other tree. So 2 of us were sitting on those. One of us was sitting on top of the fort, another one was sitting in the fort, and another one was sitting in a tree. And not doing anything, we were just talking. And Karen calls the cops again. Only this time, the the kid who lives next to Karen, his mom was sitting on the back porch. The police officer comes up, mind you. There's only been 2 police officers that come up to us, and the first one who came up to us was the one who came this time, and he was like, "Okay, what was it? Okay, what is it this time?" Actually, I believe it was the same guy 3 times, all 3 times. Yeah, it was. So he's like, "Okay, what is it this time?" And we're like, "We have no idea. We've been sitting here talking for the past, I think it was hour and 30 minutes." He was like, "Okay, I'll leave you be." And he walks off. That's all that he says is, "What is it this time?" He was like, "Okay, and we stop him and we say, "Sir, I'm so sorry about this. We do not mean to be causing any, trouble. We're just trying to have a good time." And he's like, "It's not your fault. I'll go talk to the woman who keeps calling the police and tell her to not bother us with non-emergencies." And we say, "Okay, that works." No, we say, I believe we said something like, "Okay, have a good day, sir." Yeah. Yeah, that's what we said. So, his mom saw everything. So, you can imagine that she is furious that Karen called the cops on us. So, she, after the police officer leaves, she goes crazy. And at this point, my mom is out there. And so we all live on the same street, and all the parents were in the one place talking about this. And let's just say, whenever Karen walked out, things got ugly. Cuss words were flying. You can tell that there was crazy, thick tension in the air. Because everybody was on edge. The one who lived next to Karen went insane. I'm surprised that there was not a fist fight right then and there. She looked like she was about to sock her in the jaw with the force of 100 chariots. So that happened, and then, after that, the cops were not called anymore, but she realized that she cannot do this alone. Or that calling the cops was not the right way to go, because that was just going to cause more issues. So, after that, in the middle of the night, all our tools are gone again. So, the next day, we go out there, cannot find any tools. And since we did not know when it happened, we figured it happened in the middle of the night, but we had no clue if it did. So we could not accuse anyone, because it could have been some kid going out there in the middle of the night. It could have been anybody. So we just kind of go on our day, trying to find something to replace it with. So, and then Karen calls the HOA of our neighborhood. And next day, we go back and absolutely everything is gone. Our clubhouse, our fort, absolutely everything. There wasn't even a nail left. It looked like nothing had ever happened back there. That's how much they took. So, and mind you, one of my friend's parents went back there and put put his time into that fort to make it structurally sound so he could sit on it. And whenever it was destroyed, it was a double-decker fort. There was 2 levels to it. You could sit on the very top and it'd be structurally sound. And you could sit on the middle, it'd be structurally sound, and of course you could sit, like, you could have 3 people sitting in that thing. And the clubhouse, it was 1 wall away from being finished whenever it was destroyed. So, this all spanned about 6 months. 6 months all this happened in. We built a big fort. We built part of a clubhouse. And then it was snatched away from us by a entitled Karen, mad that somebody other than her kid was having fun on their summer break. So, moral of the story? Do not conversate. Or, I don't even know. Like, the moral of the story is Karens cannot be trusted. They are the scum of the earth. And if you encounter a Karen, best thing to do is to just ignore them. Like, don't do anything with them. They are not worthy of your time. And they're just gonna, if you try to explain to them why what they're doing is wrong, that you're just gonna end up getting it in more trouble than it's worth, and it's just gonna be insane. On the bright side, now we are in the works of making a new fort in a new location, away from Karen and her evil grasp. Now, I left out some details, like the friends' names and Karen's actual name, just because I don't want anyone getting any flack from this. I want to keep everyone as anonymous as possible, because this is just a story, and this is not an attack the people. And if your name is Karen, I'm not being mean towards you. I'm being mean to stereotypical Karens. People who think that the world revolves around them. I've met some people named Karen that are wonderful people. R.C.E. Kingston, signing out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.